Yay, hi. Here we are, a bit different this week. Welcome back, Helen.
Hello, everyone. Here I am, right next to Subi.
Yep.
We won't have a split screen this week. That's very unusual.
This is going to be very interesting because we've only, though this is week 12 of our virtual wine tastings from the farm shed, this is only the second one we've done sitting next to each other because Helen's been interstate and then in hotel quarantine and but we're very glad to be back. So we started at the southern end of the region 12 weeks ago. We started with Brim Creek. We're working our way up the East Coast wine region, and we're currently in the heart of the region. We're between Swansea and Bicheno, which is our sort of home turf. And actually tonight we're doing one of the brands, the Bend, which in a way, Helen, I think was one of the reasons why we dared to dream and put together the farm shed, because less than half of the 22 producers in the region have a cellar door, and the Bend don't even have a distributor. So it's in a couple of restaurants in Hobart, and we sell it at the farm shed.
And it's also, all the East Coast wines are our favourite wines, of course. But the Bend was one of the first Cabernet Sauvignons that we've just loved on the East Coast. So with the capacity to sell it to all you good people out there, we get very excited about the Bend, both the Riesling and the Cab Sav. But the Cab Sav has always been one of our top favourites.
Absolutely, we'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. But I'll just give you a little background on the Bend. When we refer to the Bend, the whole farm is situated on the bend of the Swan River, and it's bordered by King Bay, which is part of Malting Lagoon. Now, it's a rare and significant wetland, Malting Lagoon. If anyone's been to Freycinet, they will have spotted Malting Lagoon on their way down. And Malting Lagoon is the furthest border or boundary of the Bend farm. It's actually got the largest concentration of black swans in Tasmania. Between 8,000 and 10,000 black swans live on that lagoon. So very important flora and fauna. And in fact, the whole coast has been impacted by black swans, hasn't it?
Absolutely. And remember we don't remember because we obviously weren't around. There won't be many people who were around, but the Swansea used to host a black swan festival. And in those days, we're probably talking the late 1800s, early 1900s, black swan was also an edible feast, wasn't it? Important part of the diet. Yeah, we met quite a lot of people, older locals in Swansea when we were living there, who remember eating swan as part of their diet as they were growing up. Swans and rabbit. Yeah. Which is hard.
People up here.
Which is sort of hard to think about, because I think in our modern world, I don't think that swan has made it onto any modern restaurant plates that I know about. So.
Maybe it should, though. It's not that far-fetched from swan to duck.
Oh, you might have just said something very controversial.
Oh,
we might go viral now.
All right. Well, let's get back onto the Bend.
All right, let's do wine.
This side of Swansea, towards Bicheno, there's a turn-off across to the Midlands to Campbelltown. Almost opposite that turn-off is a dirt road called Grange Road. If you travel 8 kilometres along that dirt track, you will come to two big old farms. One is the Bend, which has had vines planted since 1998, and the other is the Grange, which has changed hands a couple of years ago from a strand of the Cotton family to someone else who lives in the Middle East, and he's planting lots of vines down there too. So lots of more wine to come from down that road. The Bend Homestead is an 1860s homestead. It's on a northeast facing slope, which provides good cold air drainage down towards the river, thus reducing the risk of frost. And the vines are planted north to south for full sun exposure, and they're also planted very, very close together. Now, the reason this is important is because when John Ostwick first planted Cabernet and Cab Franc, Cab Merlot in Cranbrook, just down the road, in 1970,
And we were talking about John Ostwick last week when we were doing Craigie Nine.
Because he started Craigie Nine and started a bit of a trend. People thought he was crazy. He got a lot thrown at him for years. But honestly, we have some fabulous Cab Savs coming out of the region, not the least of which is this one. It's another sheep farm, so it's superfine merino wool. But Howard there and Susie, they graze their sheep on native grasses, which apparently is more nutritious and less likely in spring, which we're coming up to give the sheep bloat. So they follow organic principles in all their farming. We love that. And so they've got 2 hectares there, 16,000 vines.
Planted out.
Yeah. They did their first vintage in 2013, and we're tasting the 2013 Cab Sav tonight. In 14, they've done a 2014, but it's not going to be released until after the 15. Now, the other things that are happening down there is he's planning to plant another vineyard right on the banks of Bolting Lagoon, and he's got a couple of vintages tucked away of Cab Franc Merlot, which we're really looking forward to, but it's going to be a couple of years before that comes online. The first vintage of I was wrong then. The first vintage of Riesling was 2008. And the first vintage of the Cabernet was Cab Sav was 2007. But it wasn't until 2013 that it really, really started to kick in. The winemaker is John Stubbs at Derwent Estate, and he's done a mighty fine job, I reckon.
He has.
Yeah.
Definitely. Can we have some Riesling yet?
I think we should.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right. So we're tasting the 2019 Riesling. And some of you, if you're new to the virtual wine tastings, will realise that label on that bottle was back to front.
Yep, we do know that it is.
It's just one of our quirky things that we do.
You just have to go with us.
That's
if you
right.
want to see it the right way around, just pop onto our online shop have a look at it there.
So the 2019 he just released only about 6 months ago, or 5 months ago or something. And it's a interesting one. It doesn't taste like it's young. It tastes like it's got a bit of life in it, a bit of body in it. It's quite vibrant. You got anything else about it?
Yeah, I have. There were 24 inches of rain this year, and these grapes were hand-picked on the 28th of March. It displays gentle lemon blossom aromas with white peach flavour, hints of mandarin, and it finishes fresh and dry, and it certainly does.
It is a dry, and it's the same with the previous. The Bend Riesling was a dry Riesling, and there's we often say that the Freycinet Riesling and the Bend Riesling are very similar in its level of dryness.
We've got lots of fabulous dry Rieslings from the region. But yeah. Now I'm tonight having some Grandview sheep cheese. It's made in a Spanish style. This is the little brand here. And we're very fond of Grandview Sheep Cheese Farm down the Huon. We also have their gin in the farm shed. Ryan down there used to give the sheep whey to the next door neighbours to feed the pigs.
Yep.
He thought he could do better than that. Took him a couple of years, but he worked out how to make sheep whey gin and sheep whey vodka.
Yep.
But this is the first time I think we've got our hands on to some of his cheese. And I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago I discovered cheese therapy. Google it; it's fantastic. Anyway, they were featuring Grandview, so we've ordered Grandview cheese and got this pack of 4 from Cheese Therapy, and we're going to tuck into this. It's called a Drunken Admiral. It's Manchego made in a Spanish style. It's going to go really beautifully with that Riesling, I reckon.
Actually. And it's interesting because it's got a purple rind on it, so I don't know what that is. Do you know, Subi? I don't. It's a really nice colour. So it's a really good looking cheese. I love that. Anyway, it's a sheep's whey cheese, and it's a stunning Manchego.
got a smooth buttery flavour and a creamy finish on the palate. Only our spring milk is used for this cheese, which is released from 2 months to 8 months of age.
There you go.
Yum.
Yeah. No,
Very
it's
good.
I've finished my Riesling.
So, yeah, it was actually their passion for growing wool that led them to grow. I mean, they like growing exceptional wool, and that sort of led them to want to grow grapes and make exceptional wine. So one of the things about, I think we spoke before about Tasmanian wines can be a bit more expensive, partly because the yield per hectare is a third to a half of the average on the mainland. So you've got to grow it twice as long to get half as much. You've got to grow twice as much to get the same amount, and you've got to grow it twice as long because we're a cool climate wine region. And then you've got to keep the bugs at bay for twice as long, and then you throw in the topography. So everything's on slopes like this vineyard. So not very much is done by machine. It's all done by hand, which makes it really labour intensive and shoots the price up. And in the case of this Cab Sav, because they're planted really close together, they've got really small trunks, and it keeps the yield even lower than the average in Tasmania. But gee, it's worth it, I think. Anyway, that Riesling, I'm happy to.
I'm loving the Riesling. I really like the 2019. I think, must have been a good year.
Well, 2013, when this Cab Sav originates,
It is.
had 16 inches of rainfall. I know I continually say that we're a low rainfall region, and that's why a lot of the international award-winning wool, superfine merino wool, comes from around these parts, because the lower the rainfall, the finer the wool. So 16 inches, which made it a really long, dry growing season. It's been in French oak for 18 months and then cellared for 18 months. What do you think, Hels?
Oh, well, I already know what I think about the 2013 Cab Sav. I think it's been our go-to steak on the barbie red wine for quite a number of years now, and it hasn't changed. It's a fabulous Cab Sav. It's easy drinking. It's not huge on tannins, and actually, what's the alcohol in it? It's a 14.1% alcohol, so it's not a light red, but it's not a massive big tanninated red either. It's smooth. It's a good blend. It's a typical Bordeaux blend.
It is. And in fact, we'll get on to that in a minute. I'm going to tell you a little story. People that know much more than us,
oh God, that's nice.
They say that it's got violet and black currant aromas with a gentle flavour of dark cherries, and you know how much I like the dark cherries and chocolate in red wines.
Can I tell you that I think the Manchego cheese
from Grandview
is even better with the Cab Sav.
Okay.
I think it works more with the Cab Sav than it does with the Riesling, actually. That is great.
I look forward to that in a minute.
Yeah.
I want to tell you a little story as well that Howard told us last night. I mentioned before that the 2013 that we're drinking, there were only 350 cases of it made. I think we've probably sold a share of that. The 14 is going to stay and not be released. The 15 is going to be released before the 14. But the 15 recently won a silver medal in Bordeaux at an international wine show. But there's only going to be 100 cases. It's going to be released soon, and we're going to have both of them. But this 13 is going to run out before summer. So if you want to get your hands on any of this, give us a ring, pop onto our online shop, because it's well worth it. Now, there's plenty of 2019 grapes about to be bottled. Howard was going down to Hobart today to have a taste and consult with the winemaker. But 2020, none. Why? And this is what these winemakers face. It's farming. So what happened was it was a really dry year, and Howard said he was being a bit sparing with the water, and we occasionally get a day, probably once or twice a year, we get a summer's day that's 38, 40 degrees. But they must have a little microclimate down where the vines are, because the temperature reached 50 degrees on a day in January. And what that meant was that all of the grapes shriveled. The green grapes just shriveled on the vine. So we've talked before about sheep and grapes being a good partnership, because after they've been picked, the sheep are often let in and they fertilise as they go. Well, for the 2020 vintage, just recently, in sort of March, April, Howard just opened the gates and let the sheep in, and they ate all the grapes.
So the East Coast sheep got all the Cabernet. Well, it was the Cab Sav, wasn't it, rather than the Merlot and the Franc. So lucky sheep. So sometimes it works for them to be on the coast in the middle of a vineyard. Usually the sheep are cleaning up the grasses and the weeds and stuff between the vines after pruning. But not this time. They got the whole shebang. So no 2020 vintage, but we will be looking forward. Well, we're now looking forward to the 2015, and we will be looking forward to presumably the 18 and then the 19. So we've got a lot to go yet before we can worry about the 2020 vintage. And besides, maybe that's, just says a lot about what 2020 is at the moment, because 2020
it's a write-off.
2020 really is a write-off for so many things. Let's just write off the Bend Cab Sav for 2020. That makes sense.
We're just hoping we make it through to 2021.
I like it. Oh, here's to 2021, absolutely.
Yeah. Look, with 16,000 vines over 2 hectares, this is kind of a medium-sized vineyard on the East Coast. It's not the smallest. It's by no means the biggest, but
it is important to realise that it's not readily available, the Bend wine, and it is. You can just give us a ring and we can send some on to you. It is on restaurant wine lists, and that's really about it, isn't it?
That is. Yep. Sometimes people will have it in a restaurant in Hobart and they'll Google where they can buy it, and we come up and they'll drive via the East Coast to pick up a couple of bottles. So we're really thankful for that.
Yeah.
So some of the vineyards with cellar doors, less than half of our 22 producers in our region have a cellar door. And some of them, we're all easing into coming back to life, because there's not... without the borders open, there's not a huge amount of people around. And Tassie people are doing their best and doing a great job at supporting local businesses.
They're doing fantastic. There's a lot of Tasmanians around from all over the place. We had a lovely couple and their daughter in from Devonport today. And, they're just, travelling around. And, no, people have been doing a great job. Yeah, but we feel for all the people in Melbourne and, and hope that... the next few months, everybody, eases their way out of this. We really do. Absolutely.
But if you're coming to the East Coast, some of the cellar doors are open at the weekends. We're open Monday to Friday, so you can get wine from us from all 22. If you can't make Tassie for a while, not a problem. Had a call today from the ACT, and... they've decided to do some virtual wine tastings with us until they can get down and check out the region in real life. So we can always pop some wine off to you. It's what we love doing.
Yep,
we love sharing these wines with all of you, and we hope you enjoy them as much as us. That's probably a wrap from us.
So it probably is a wrap. So, but just before we do actually go, next week we're doing... I always say it wrong.
We've been calling it Gala for the last 20 years. And I still
say Gala. I find it hard to change.
But we've been corrected. It's Gala.
Yep. Some of you will be surprised that I find change difficult.
Another producer of very fine wines that you'll find on restaurant wine lists.
Yep.
So we look forward to going to Gala Estate next week.
Yes, absolutely. We'll be doing one of their... reserve Pinots and a Riesling, are we, I think? I think we're doing a Riesling. Anyway, it's on our website if anyone needs to know what we're doing next week.
Blanc. Anyway.
It's on the website. Actually, you have a chat and
Yep.
I'll do a quick look up.
So thank you for joining us in the live tasting. Thank you for watching this
The Riesling.
afterwards on Instagram or Facebook or on our website.
We're doing a rosé next week.
That's right,
We're
the Gala
doing
Rosé.
the Gala Rosé and the Gala Black Label Pinot 2017. So
I can't wait.
if anyone wants a bottle, give us a ring tomorrow and
Yeah.
we'll get it in the mail and you'll
beautiful.
probably have it by next Thursday.
It's a beautiful, beautiful dry rosé, so
Yeah.
that'll be fun.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Sorry, Woodrow, but you can see the rest of our raves afterwards when it gets posted on the website or on Instagram or Facebook.
Yep.
Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for enjoying our wines.
Thank you.
Thanks for hooking into the farm shed. We love to know that you're out there, even though we can't see you in person, some of
Yeah,
you right
absolutely.
now. But we look forward to seeing you when we can all get back together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Drink more wine.
Bye. Bye.